camera should pick up our audio in case it does not have this thing. This is Russ Burlingame from comicbook.com. I'm here with Mr. Len Wein and Mr. Joe Michael Straczynski. Is that how you prefer it?
Joe is fine. Russ is too hard. Lots of insides.
Really, JMS is just everybody's. It's easier to spell. But Mr. Wein is the writer of Curse of the Crimson Corsair and also of the Ozymandias title for the Before Watchmen initiative. Mr. Straczynski? Joe. Very good. Writes Dr. Manhattan, and was there a second one?
Night Owl.
Night Owl.
Yes.
Which I've actually read, and I forgot, however.
That's okay. But drugs will do that to you after a while.
Hopefully not, because I'd like to continue.
The drugs?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent.
But
you heard it here first.
Oh, fine. I always get the dregs.
But I'll start with him because I'm pointed this way, and then I'll alternate.
Point any way you like.
Now you've, how did you come about being involved with the Before Watchmen project? I mean, obviously it's one of those, like, it had to be kept on a very, very down low, and you're a guy who isn't necessarily in the DC inner circle. So when did they approach you?
It was almost a year ago, I guess it was. And when we talked to Len about it, your response was, who do I have to kill? And when I talked to them, the same question came up, they said, kill Len Wein. And I thought that seemed fair. And I missed, but I got the job anyway. But then, I was talking about this for some time and wanted to get back to the Watchmen universe again because they're great characters, great stories that haven't been told yet. And we figured, let's take a shot at it, get the best writers in town, and me, and the best artists in town. And
you may not leave this interview alive.
Well, the best writers being you guys, and me bringing up the rear.
All right.
Yes. The man's a legend. Rather like Getty, actually. And it was a great challenge to try and play that universe again, and I'm glad they grabbed on.
And I mean, playing in that universe again is, like, for most people, it's an abstract concept. For Len, you've actually, like, you've been involved with Watchmen since day one.
Exactly.
What was it like when DC came to you and said, okay, this is finally happening?
It's about time, basically. When we had the opportunity for a quarter of a century to do some of these stories, he decided not to. It's time somebody did, especially at the quarter century mark. Because some of us who were around when it started may not be around at the next quarter century.
And did you know from the get-go that you were going to be working with Mr. Higgins on the book?
No, I was actually a little surprised. And I had no idea he was as good an artist. He's a terrific artist. All of the stuff seems historically accurate, which is even more fun. I love when somebody sits down and does the homework. Because God knows I had to do that when I was in the house.
Now, last thing, and I'll go back to Mr. Straczynski, Joe. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is we haven't seen Ozymandias yet, but we're seing review after review after review of people who've seen the thing saying that this is the best work of Jay Lee's pretty distinguished career. How much have you seen so far, and what do you think?
I will probably be white-haired by the end of this project. Because of Jay and deadlines. He makes them. He makes them squeak. He makes them. The work itself is breathtaking. I've never seen anybody put more effort into what he's doing. I dialogue from the pencils. We got to the point where I was dialoguing from labs. He would do finished pencils, extraordinary. Then the inks would come in and I realized he'd redrawn half of what he'd done in the pencils. So poor John Workman, who's our letterer, has to keep rearranging the balloon placement all the time. But in the first issue, he did some layouts towards the end, and I thought the layouts were perfect. And then the pencils came in, and they were 180 degrees opposite of what he had done in the layouts. And I got furious, and I wrote this lengthy letter to him, and I said, you've got to go back and change these things. I did this because and that because and the other thing because. And the next morning, I got this email, which was the most quiet, reasoned email I have ever gotten, which explained how much thought he had given to what he did and why he did it. And he understood what I had wanted, but he did the other thing because, and in every damn case he was right. And I said, I don't remember the last time I had to write an apology letter. Like, I apologize. You are right, I am wrong. And the book was spectacular.
And now, for Joe, you've got kind of the polar opposites of the Watchmen universe, because you have the most vulnerable, arguably, character in the entire match in Night Owl, and then you have Dr. Manhattan. Is that kind of a fun dichotomy to play with when you've got everybody else kind of taking up the middle?
Absolutely. And part of the fun of the two characters is Dr. Manhattan, the most powerful character in the Watchmen universe, that he can see all his past and future decisions have already been made. So he loses free will in the process of that. He can't choose separately since he's already chosen that. He can see everything, so he can't do anything. Whereas Night Owl has the smallest point of view of all and sees the universe of possibility and choices he can still make. So we're playing with that dichotomy in the Dr. Manhattan book and showing Night Owl's evolution and making choices that come to extraordinary places in that book.
And it's actually very interesting because obviously in Watchmen he dealt very specifically with this idea that he had to make a decision where he knew what he was going to do, but he was fighting it the whole time because it wasn't rational. And having not had that kind of revelation yet, you're faced with a character who's very much the most powerless, powerful man in the universe.
Yeah, which is really the fun of it. And I'm just having a ball, and the artwork from Adam Hughes looks terrific. I think the best book looking so far is Jay Lee's book on Ozymandias, which came out last week. And it's just kick-ass. And Len's done some amazing work over the years, but this is like the pinnacle. He really brought your A game to this thing. It's an extraordinary book. It changed the rest of this.
And it's really funny because I think, and this speaks to both of your comments, but because Alan Moore was unhappy with the project, so many people have focused on the task that you guys have at hand of making sure that the books are written strongly enough that it's harder to argue. But the art teams who are taking over from Dave Gibbons, who's given kind of a tacit approval to the thing, the art teams have been really lights out, and it's virtually impossible to argue with, Darwin Cook or a Jay Lee. Do you think that that speaks to a commitment to DC to kind of have the more overall product, so that when it goes to, say, the bookstore market, people are looking at this going, holy shit?
That was the intent. I mean, I'm sure Len can agree with this. In every meeting I ever had with Dan about these books, he never mentioned the money aspect, never mentioned how much they're going to sell on this thing. He always said, tell good stories about these guys, the best writers and me, and the best artists, and tell some good stories and make some good books. That's all he's ever said to us, and I think that says a lot for the guy.
And have you had the same thing in terms of, not only Jay Lee, but as you said, like John Higgins is a hugely underrated talent. You look at his work on 2000 AD. Is it interesting to you to kind of see him bring that to an American audience for the first time and be among all these huge names?
Yeah, I think the audience will be astonished at the quality of John's work. I was. It started coming in and I went, you can draw like this? My God, I had no. There is no B talent in this project. But no, seriously, with all the kidding around, they went out to get the best they could, and they succeeded. I don't think there's anybody on this project who is doing it for the money. They're doing it because it's almost an honor to be asked to play in what was one of the most extraordinary playgrounds in comic book history.
And you have had a chance to speak with everybody involved over the years. Has it put you in a really hard position when all of the the crap hit the fan early in the stage, or are you just kind of at the point where you're comfortable with your position and all of that?
Oh, I'm comfortable with my position. I find it extraordinarily selfish of Alan to take the position he's taken. And as I said in some interview elsewhere, had I taken that position with Swamp Thing, he might not have the career and the stints he has. It's an industry of characters, and everybody gets to play in everybody else's sandbox. So people ask me how I feel about how other writers have treated my characters over the years, and my response is, gee, I wonder how Siegel and Schuster and Bob Kane and Stan and Ditko and all those guys feel about how I treated their characters. We all get to play with everybody else's characters. It's part of what makes it such an interesting and diverse industry.
And you've talked about that a little bit in terms of Babylon 5, because you don't own the rights to that, even though there's nothing current going on.
Yeah.
one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that when you talk to other creators who are very closely associated with all the properties in comics, it's like, yes, Tony Isabella would love to be on the first Black Lightning, but it's not how it works. Do you think that it's kind of a fair comparison to just kind of say, like, just because people resisted this temptation for 25 years doesn't make this any different necessarily? Than
it really is no different. And I think that Alan kind of loses the moral high ground a bit. You look at the last 10, 15 years of his career, you're really taking other people's characters and using them in The Extraordinary Gentleman, Lost Girls, on and on, almost creating slash fan fiction. Which, I mean, it's really well written slash fan fiction, but it's slash fan fiction. And so, well, it's okay because they're dead. That's kind of the cowardly way to look at it. I mean, at least we're doing this while Alan's still alive, he can have a voice. To wait until he's dead, was it with your coward to wait until he's dead? No, let's take this on directly. Yeah? And I think that you can lose a little bit of the moral high ground. And as you were saying, you know, there's far more characters that have been carried on long beyond the makers. And if you look at the Wikipedia entry for Watchmen, there's interviews with Alan where he says he had prequels in mind to do more stories, so it wasn't going to be closed ended. Basically, he's pulled the fan community into a contractual dispute. And that contractual dispute has, to a degree, been misrepresented. Back when this thing first came out, Len, you can confirm this if I'm lying or not, just say I'm lying.
Sure.
The average graphic novel stayed on the stand for 6 months, and then it was gone.
Exactly.
They made a deal with him to keep that they would try and get the book in print, and if they didn't, then you could get the rights back. It was a way to protect Alan and make sure he got some money off the thing. So we're trying to screw him on it. We're trying to say, look, we will work hard to keep it in print for your benefit to get some money off of this. It wasn't just done and done, one and done. So that's been misrepresented. They didn't read his contract. I mean, if you go out and buy a card, you read the contract. So why did he read it? Why did he lying? So it just seems like it's Alan's rule is I can do whatever I want to, whenever I want, but no one can touch my stuff. And that just seems like hypocrisy. He's a talented guy. I admire his writing. He's a genius, but being a genius doesn't always make you right.
And shifting back into the actual story, because obviously this is not as much fun for anybody. But shifting back into the actual story, one of the things that strikes me is we're talking about kind of an aspect of Dr. Manhattan that he knows everything. This version of the characters is a little bit more loosely connected than the original work, obviously, because it's all separate works that are connected by having Dr. Manhattan. Do you have a little bit more, do you feel a little bit more like you have to know what's going on?
Oh yeah, talking about the book that I'm doing, which actually of the two I'm doing is my favorite. It ranges all over the Watchmen universe, from its creation as John Osterman, even before that in his childhood, what comes afterwards goes to Mars. It really is a panorama of the entire Watchmen story and his personal background. And Len was very kind about the first script when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Quite a bit. Right.
I read the first script and I basically, Joe and I went, now what? How do you get out of what you just done? I have no clue how you can go anywhere with this. And he went to interesting places. Wonderful.
Well, the great thing of all us working together is that we can all see each other's work on this one website we all hang out on. And I see with Len, oh crap, I have to up my game. And Brian sees what Darwin's doing. Oh shit, I have to up my game as well. And we've been sort of competing with each other.
Yes.
And it's like, we have to do better. It's great.
And it is an astonishingly good series. Dr. Manhattan is just, I love it.
And now, this is one of those, there's been talk, there's your well-known disagreement with Alan about aspects of the ending of the book.
Yes, sir.
And is there anything, if there is anything that you could add to the kind of the base of Before Watchmen, is there anything, or do you think that it's pretty well covered?
Oh, I think you'll have to wait and see. Yeah, you'll wait and see.
All right, well, gentlemen, thank you very much. Mr. Wein, Joe,
thank you.
Thanks very much.